superintendent's report. There we go.
You can go ahead and go to the next slide. In preparation for this meeting, we toured the middle school and 3 of the elementary schools. We talked to teachers and students about key issues within their school. We asked them what their school could do better, if the kids were learning the material, what new things were going on at their school, and if there was anything specific that they wanted us to bring to this meeting. At Washington Lee, teachers were concerned with student behavior. They said that some of the students lacked the ability to problem solve. The students said that their facilities were not being cleaned properly and that some of their classmates do not get along. A positive takeaway was that there is a new mentoring program with the police department.
At Highland View, the teachers were concerned with attendance enforcement, and they said that some of the older kids are struggling socially. A few teachers said that they would like to see some more activities for students to do during the day. They were very appreciative of their new principal and said they felt less stress. Teachers would like to see more support for students who are not working on grade level, but who also do not qualify for special education programs. Smaller class sizes was another issue that they discussed with us. They said that their students are working hard and are improving.
Teachers at the middle school said that there are some students that are not putting in the effort to learn. Of course, there's just a handful of those. The majority, they said, were improving and working hard. Some changes that they suggested were improvements to the facilities and more accountability. Many teachers feel that some students should have more academic and behavioral consequences. A more specific issue at the middle school involves the combining of 8th grade English and Spanish 1. Teachers and students are both concerned with the current policy, which says that to take Spanish 1, a student also has to take advanced 8th grade English and vice versa. In addition, only one class period is given for both of those subjects. The after-school program is doing very well, and the All-Pro Dad program is getting ready to begin. This program gives kids male role models and teaches them life skills such as how to tie a tie or how to use a grill. And I know Mr. Malik was very excited about that program.
An ongoing issue at the high school is cleanliness. Teachers in the history department have started to sweep and mop the floors themselves because they are not being cleaned. The history hallway bathroom is also not being cleaned properly. Staff and students continue to notice parts of the school remain untended to. These locations include classrooms and locker rooms. In an effort to maintain sanitary conditions in the classroom, some students, including myself, volunteered to sweep and mop a few of the classrooms on the history wing of the high school. This simple yet neglected task made a vast difference in not only the appearance of the classroom, but also the emotional climate. We realize that Greg does the best of his ability given that he is tasked with the academic section of the school, cleaning after lunch, and cleaning the bathrooms. Teachers are asked to email Dr. Duncan if they notice places that have been neglected, and the custodian tends to those places when notified. But this task seems insurmountable for one man.
Sports and clubs. Tasaya Skinner earned the title of state champion with her time of 7.27 in the 55-meter event. Several other members of the indoor track team placed or had personal best in their events. FBLA had their region conference at UVA Wise last week. Several students placed in their events and will be attending the state conference in Reston at the end of March. Coach Lee. We would like to recognize Coach Lee for his 42 years of service in the school. He retired this past January. He served as a basketball, baseball, and golf coach. Thank you.
All right, thank you guys. Thank you for going out and getting the inside scoop from our schools. I appreciate that, and we need to work on getting them clean.
I'd like to add, I think that's a great format for you all to go to the schools and report back. I'd like to see you continue to do that. I think that's very helpful. Good job.
Yeah, I'd like to echo my thanks for that. I know it's a lot of work to get to the schools and talk to the teachers and the students, and it's really fun, but it's very draining. So I really appreciate you all doing that, because I'm sure that took a lot of your time and effort. I echo the concerns about the cleanliness. I know that we've seen that. I mean, I think you notice it sometimes in some places of the school, and certainly not to denigrate our custodial staff who are doing the best they can, but sounds like we need to get them more resources. And then I do have some questions about that English and Spanish policy. You know, we might have students who are not doing well in English language enough to take an advanced class, but that doesn't mean they wouldn't be good at learning Spanish, and Spanish is a great life skill to have, so I would love for us to look into that more.
They brought up a number of things that I think should be addressed. The qualification for taking Spanish 1. I mean, anybody who wants to do that ought to be able to do it. They don't have to take an advanced English class to get in Spanish. And some of the issues of truancy and not showing up for school and things like that, we need to address that.
Oh, I agree. And if we look at outside of student mental and behavioral health, I think the biggest challenge we currently have is chronic absenteeism. And we are trying to put as many resources as we can. Obviously, if a student's not in school, you know, we can't teach them. And so that we are hyper-focused on that now, but also
The parents need to be involved.
yes, sir, absolutely. And going back to the cleanliness, especially at Virginia High, originally we were concerned about the cleanliness of the restrooms, and I think that we've got that under control. However, we have had several of our custodial staff out at Virginia High School. We've actually approved overtime for some instructional aides to actually, after they finish their shift during the day, to come in and work on that. And I'm talking to Mr. Collins, it was today or yesterday, we're going to work with Mr. Buckles to see if anybody in his maintenance staff or custodians in the other buildings, even in maybe that late second or early third shift, if we can't get a big crew of folks to go into Virginia High and just kind of help Greg out. Because Greg, I mean, I don't know if you guys know, Greg's been with us since we took over from contracted services in the custodial area, and he's one of our better employees and is working hard, but with the number of staff that we have out at Virginia High, it has been really tough to keep up, and so we are working on that as well. I think the issue about the honors English in the 8th grade is more about scheduling than it is about keeping kids from taking Spanish. And so if a student isn't able to take that Spanish 1, which is a high school credit in 8th grade because they're not in the honors English class, it's more about scheduling than it is about prevention, and they will have the opportunity to take Spanish when they get to the 9th grade. Now, the other option to that would be to, you know, rework the middle school schedule to where that's not an obstacle, but that doesn't happen without some budgetary budgetary changes as well.
I would vote for the latter.
Yeah.
Thank you all. I appreciate
Great job,
your
guys.
report. Yeah. Let's see, item 2B, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Perigin.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm going to start out. I think you guys get a copy of this each week, but if you read Dave McGee's article in the Bristol Herald-Courier from last week, it's probably a better summary than what I can do. Making great progress on the new intermediate school. They're still chiseling some rock. Really, it's more about shaping the rock. Now, the road, if you go up there, you can actually see the path of the road, and it's making good progress. But now they're shaping that remaining rock that's going to be, I guess, kind of sticking out there as you go around that curve. However, the exterior walls in the 2nd and 3rd grade wing they're up. A lot of the classroom walls in that area are up. The entire floor is poured in the 4th and the 5th grade. Well, the entire floor is poured all across the entire building, and finishing up last in the 4th and 5th grade wing. And those exterior walls will be going up soon. As you can see, they've got the big crane up there, and they're starting to put the rafters on. And so we're really getting very close to being under roof in a few areas of the school. I thought, you know, Mr. McGee did a great job of highlighting the progress that we're making, but also the benefits of having a 21st century learning environment for our students. And so we're really excited about that. As a matter of fact, you're going to hear a little bit in just a minute about what will make that school a 21st century learning environment. Along the same lines as we're talking about the new school, the application for the School Construction Assistance Program came out a week or so ago, and you'll see that I very quickly got our application submitted, and as you'll see, if approved, we're going to be eligible for $7.5 million out of the $25 million project that we built that new school. And so there was a lot of advocacy from our coalition of small and rural schools to get that funding stream available, and certainly a lot of hard work by Delegate Israel O'Quinn to get that made part of last year's budget. So we're thrilled about that. I've been in contact with the Department of Ed staff. The deadline for applications for this fiscal year ends on March the 31st, and they will look at applications then. The State Board of Education meets, I think, on April 18th. The Department of Ed is unsure they can get their recommendation to the Board of Ed by that date, and there's not a May meeting of the Board of Ed. And so it very possibly could be the middle of June before we know whether or not we're going to receive these funds. So I've been working with the Department of Ed staff to see if we could at least get a copy of the recommendation they're going to make to the Board of Ed based on our application, because it's really time sensitive on our part for a couple of reasons. Number one is, in early discussions with the Department of Ed, we used $2 million in our ESSER funds as a down payment on the school. It looks like they're going to want us to put that back in ESSER and use this $2 million of the $7 million towards the down payment. But you probably also remember that our ESSER funds have to be spent by the end of next fiscal year, and $2 million is even though I'll give it the best shot I have, but we're really going to have a very robust summer program again in order to draw that down. And if we have to wait till mid-June to get verification for our summer program, that's going to make it very difficult. And we will be we chose some cheaper floor coverings in the new school because that's what our budget allowed. This money will allow us to get better floors, which will reduce maintenance over time, and those types of decisions need to be made sooner rather than later as well. So I'm working really hard with the Department of Ed staff to try to come up with an alternative solution other than waiting till mid-June to get our final approval, but wanted to update the board and the public about that, because I don't know if I can really do justice to the impact that money is going to have on our school. I mean, $25 million to build a new school, that is a big lift. And for the state to come in and take over 30% of that by this program is going to be tremendous, especially to our city and the financial concerns that we currently have. So we're thrilled about it. We're really appreciative to Delegate O'Quinn for helping to make this happen, and we're going to continue to work just as hard as we can to get access to that as quickly as possible. So that will segue into, I think, the next topic, but happy to answer any questions about the superintendent's report before we do that.
No, it's, I know Delegate O'Quinn was the main one behind it, but that whole Southwest delegation has really been strong and supported schools, school construction. I really appreciate what they do and your efforts as well with the Small and Rural Coalition as well. So, I mean, it takes everybody to battle Richmond. So I appreciate that. All right, moving on to item 2C, discussion of new school decision-making.
So, couple different topics to talk about here. In order to apply for the School Construction Assistance Program, I had to put in a school name. Well, we really don't have a new school. We don't have a name for the new school. We just keep calling it the new school, the new intermediate school. I think we've come to the point where we need to start getting some serious community input and for this board to make a decision about what the name of the school will be. I'm happy to make a recommendation. And our policy, as you can see from reading the policy that we have attached here, there is procedures that go into making a school name or to naming a school facility. And so I would encourage the board to direct me to get a process started where we do get some public input, make decisions. Do we rename Van Pelt in the process? Do we just name the new school only? What will that process look like? And so if the board would like for me to undertake that endeavor, I certainly take the lead on that if that's the board's wishes.
I believe we need to go ahead and do that. There's no sense delaying. We need to get a name for the school and just go ahead and start that process.
Well, one of the things that we'll do, obviously, we'll survey our staff about potential recommendations for that. I'd love to have recommendations from the board. We'll also get some community input via an online survey, and I hope to bring some information back to the board at our April meeting.
At the annual conference that we went to in November, I went to a session on renaming schools, and it was more of a renaming, not something like this, but I thought it would have some good suggestions. And one of the things they talked about was getting student involvement and engagement, and they had their school board reps do that. And the idea would be that we would want input from, you all as Virginia High students and the middle school students and the elementary school, not just the little kids that are going to go there, but I would love to involve our school board reps and, put more on their plate, but to have them, lead the student involvement for that.
Great idea.
Can we name it the Virginia Intermediate School? I mean, that's definitive.
Absolutely, this board can name it anything that they want. and I don't say that lightly. Obviously, if the board wants me to make a recommendation for you to vote on, I'm happy to do that. This is one of those board functions that I'll do the work in the background, and I think the board will direct the path that it goes. But yes, if Bristol, Virginia Intermediate School that would actually be one of the suggestions that I would make to the board to keep everything consistent. If you'll remember, as we had, 1,000, it seemed like, public meetings as we were talking about consolidating, one of the comments that came over and over again was, well, if Van Pelt's going to be the only school that remains, are you going to change the name of that school? We're losing our entire school. Will that name stay the same? And so, I think that's also a consideration too. If, do we leave we have earmarked Van Pelt Drive or Van Pelt Circle for the road, the new access road that comes in. So that regardless if we change that name or not, Van Pelt will continue to remain, a very prominent name in our city. So I think we'll make that part of the survey too. And again, I'll make a recommendation to the board, and the board can act in whichever manner they decide is best.
I like to see the information from the survey to see other ideas and what folks have in mind to name our schools.
I had a couple other ideas if now's an appropriate time to rattle them off about the new school. I think if we could, as we're directing you to form committees and processes, I think it would be great, maybe there already exists, but to have some committees for each elementary school to plan the transition out, to plan some community celebrations for closing each school on different, a couple different days and times so folks can make it, as well as to have a committee of the different elementary schools together to plan our transition into the new school. And then I'd love to do some, for in advance, down the road, I'd love to do some planning for open houses for the community and parents, even if it's before the classrooms are ready, considering when we're going to take ownership of the building, when the school year will start, but for, the city of Bristol to get to see what they've paid for as well. And I think it would be great if we could have some practice days for drop off and pick up when it gets closer on a Saturday and an evening so that parents can practice that as well.
Yeah, so I think those are all great ideas. And for those of you all who have been around me for a little bit, I may not be good at much, but I'm really good at planning, and I have to be to make up for other weaknesses that I have. But we actually have, and if anybody after the meeting wants to go see it, over in the conference room beside my office, we have a board that has 20 committees that we've already formed, and we've put committee chairpersons in charge of that. You will hear from one of those later tonight. If you'll remember, we're presenting on 2 different topics every month just as we go into that transition. And I will also say that we always have a theme to start the school year. Our theme next year will be something like, we're still refining it, but something like, learning from our past as we build for our future. And elementary principals are already aware that they need to start planning some events to bring back in alumni. One of those is my dad, who attended Highland View in the early 1940s. Those folks want to be part of this transition now. So I think those are all great ideas. Some of them we've already started working on. Some of them we need to get started working on. So thank you for those good solutions. And since it was your idea, we will add you to a few of those committees.
I love
There
to
you
be
go.
on a
All right.
committee. Please put me on the committees.
Yeah, those are all good ideas.
All right. Anything else about naming? I do have another kind of, as we're talking about making decisions for the new school. Ms. Jones, if you could pull up some of the other documents. This I did not know was an option until a couple of weeks ago. But, you know, the rendering that we've been looking at for the new school has had red window sills and red roof throughout the whole time. But I was asked a couple of weeks ago if that was our final decision. And I said, well, I didn't know that we had another one. But anyway, we evidently do, and so they gave us some samples. We've shared those with you already this week and shared it with leadership here in the office and also out in our schools. This is a blue roof with some different window options. We've not got a lot of positive feedback as we've sent that out. This next option is the current option of, gotcha, yeah. So we have a lighter brown option with darker brown windows. The reason we asked them to give us that option is as you look at Van Pelt's windows have the brown. And as if we're going to try to tie those two looks together, that would be one rationale for using that. We also had them give us the opportunity to look at a black, and this one on the left, yeah, that's a better picture of it there. A black roof with black window sills, which I think gives it a really classy look. And then obviously the look that we've been looking at is red roof with red window sills, which I think gives it the classic schoolhouse look. Now, we brought some samples here on the table for you to, if you just, I know normally we don't get up from the dais but it might be good to come up and look at some of these samples. The brick that you see there with the mortar, that is currently, the brick, that's a done deal. The brick's on property. The choice that you do have, though, that is the suggestion for the mortar color, which I think looks really, really good, and that is what the architects say after years of design to try to keep it similar so that you don't have a lot of colors going there. We also have the alternating bricks. As you see, there's a line of lighter brick color in the rendering there. We have that sample, and then there are, and I can show you on the print, there also are going to be some designs above the windows that are diamond shapes. That'll be a different color brick, and it'll have some downward light coming from that. So I can show you that as well. That's basically picked, but we also have the samples of the roof colors and the windowsill colors there. If you'd like to take just a minute to look at it. As you know, the board early in this process gave me the authority to make these decisions with input from the board, so it's not something that takes a vote. But before I make that decision, I would love to hear the board's input. So if you want to take a look, I can.
As we look at that, I think the green and the blue make more thermal sense because you got the sun coming up on that roof, and we got a lot of air conditioning more and more these days.
One of the things that came from the architect was if you go with the black roof, in the winter, it will help with electric bills because it'll generate more heat. In the summer, it'll probably cause you to have to use the AC more. However, as you obviously know, we're in the building more in cold months than we are in the hot months, so they think it would basically offset at the end of the day. That was their general recommendation.
We've certainly had a mild winter this year.
Which ended up looking a little bit more green after you put it on that kind of bottom. And so as you see, this is the diamond areas I was talking about. That is going to be
I had Canada decided for like the last minute of it.
The microphone was on it, it just like, right on the
It's just went
microphone.
straight.
This is branded color, and that is really close to the color in the
We got a lot more energy at this meeting. Everyone seems a lot more.
It was actually the most popular, as our principals and directors looked at it, that was the one that they
I will say, I'm gonna miss this a little bit. This is looking kind of cool.
It's kind of fun.
That's gonna be a 50-year-old school.
at some point, absolutely, which is why the blueprint is really not.
Every single year.
Yeah, because Spanish isn't like a hard class. It's just like a fun class.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you can see, it came out dark in the picture, and I don't, yeah, this is.
I feel like there's so many
light.
It's a metal roof.
It's a metal roof, yes, sir.
What's the light?
If you wouldn't have asked me, I
black looks so much better.
we could buy it. Everything has a certain warranty.
Because then you can put orange with it. You know?
AC has a warranty.
You need a orange.
Because it's like, you know,
Like if we put a bear cat on the roof, that would be amazing.
hey, the black.
Black.
I don't know, that green right there is something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we were just talking about. Yeah.
Maybe
Because
it
it's
might
like,
be a lot of
if we do the
orange.
black, you can do so much with the orange. So.
I really wish they wouldn't tell me where that other option would go.
Yeah. That's
So
tough.
we were actually,
Like the one under like tiger, either. You could do that. Black would be orange. That'd be fire.
You remember, I don't think it's still there, but you remember like at the pool at the high school, there used to be like a tiger in the middle of the pool. There's like a paw pit in the pool, but there used to be like a tiger on the roof, like at the pool parking lot. I remember seeing it when I was little. I thought it was super cool. I don't know whatever happened to that guy.
You're talking like the little tiger, he like has
He's
his
like coked up.
birds his tail hanging up.
Yeah.
Alright.
Please don't walk in. Please don't walk in. We have an idea. What if we took like a brick from each of the schools, like the state schools, and we can make it like a part of that?
Like part of the building.
I think that's a great idea.
For the tan?
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
So what?
I guess.
They didn't build my house.
I guess.
I hesitate to give y'all this idea because y'all might replace me with our student school board reps. But they came up with a great idea about taking existing bricks from our current schools and somehow embedding that into the project at our new school. So I wish they weren't here so I could take credit for it, but I guess I better go ahead and give them credit for it. Great idea, guys.
I like that.
Yeah, that's really good.
So I believe the consensus is the tan. So,
That'd be my choice.
okay,
Makes sense.
all right. So we got a new roof color. All right. Item, let's see, was that all?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I would say there is a board here. They got the colors wrong on the interior colors, but we're not in a hurry to do that. They are in a hurry for these exterior colors that they're to that point. But before you leave, look at this board. You'll have some more decisions to make or more advice to give me, I guess, later on about the interior colors as well. So a lot of choices to be made.
All right. Item 2D, discussion of STEM labs to new intermediate school.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who may not be aware, my name is Carmen Harper. I am the Program Director of Data Management here at School Board Office, and also a mom of 3 of our students in the system. And of course, my husband is Brad Harper, the Athletic Director.
And a former science teacher for us.
I'm a formal
That's right.
science
That's
teacher,
right.
very excited about science. So with that in mind, Dr. Perigin asked me to help lead a committee to design some learning labs. These are going to be areas in our new school that are areas for active learning, where students are going to be up, they're going to be experiencing science and technology, they're going to be experiencing STEM education. So I'm going to lead you guys through what we have so far. If this will work. I don't think it's going to work. This one? Okay. Oh. All right, so if you may not be aware, STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math, but it's much more than just that. It's critical and creative problem solving, something we all know that our kids need in this world. It's problem-based learning. It's cross-curricular. It's not just science and science class or English and English class. It's combining it across the curriculum. It's student-centered. It's real-world problems, again, something our kids desperately need experience with. It's career interests, such as robotics, programming. It's inquiry-based, where students are problem-solving these real-world problems by them being inquisitive, them leading it, them asking questions and doing the research. It's collaboration, something our kids don't get a ton of experience with, and something that leads them when they go into the real world. They need to be able to be a part of a team. Most importantly, it teaches them persistence. When they fail, they don't stop there. They keep learning. They keep digging until they figure it out. It's creativity, thinking outside the box. It's reflection on those mistakes and those successes. Most important, it's excitement for these kids. They get excited about these topics, and it makes learning fun. Our current STEM program is offered to students typically as special area class, some curriculum integration, and some instructional resource. Topics such as robotics, coding, media creation, virtual reality, and 3D modeling are explored during these times. These activities take place in each of our 4 elementary schools. It takes place in the libraries, the classrooms, art and music rooms. But the problem with these rooms, they are very limited in space. You know, they got a lot of desks in there. They got a lot of supplies in there. Kids need room to move. They need room to learn. So our current program is limited not only by space, but also our equipment. A lot of the equipment that is used in really great STEM opportunities needs to be housed in a room and not moved around, because when you move this stuff around, the collaboration goes off, parts get missing, they get broke. So having a designated area will be huge. So let's give students a space to learn. We have 2 spaces in our new school. They're going to be designated as learning labs for our STEM program. Each is roughly 1,024 square feet. In each room, they're across from the main office, which I love the idea of that, because as we have visitors come into our building, the first thing they're going to see is these rooms dedicated for 21st century learning. We have developed a 3-part plan to help us develop the best STEM labs or learning labs that we can. The first is the research phase, which we are currently in, followed by the planning stage and the building stage. As I said, we are currently in the research phase. This is the spring of this year. We have started visiting other STEM labs. We went to Radford and saw what they had, and we are going to also go to Blacksburg, Virginia Tech, to see some examples there. We are looking into curriculum options. We've looked into a couple. One of the ones I and Dr. Perigin really like is called Project Lead the Way. We're going to continue to look and then kind of, judge them, see which one's the best bet. We've started to survey teachers to find out what we already have. There's no point of buying equipment if we already have them in our schools. So we need to see what we have and also what we need to build the best STEM rooms that we can. We're also looking into pricing furniture, equipment, and supplies. So that's all happening now. In the summer and next fall, what we're going to do is go into the plan phase. What we want to do is form a learning lab committee that includes not only teachers but other relative stakeholders. I'd love for you guys to be part of that. Also get some students involved because it's going to be their area. We're going to then make final decisions on the layout of the labs, the curriculum we're going to use, and what supplies we need. And then we'll start purchasing those supplies. Again, this is summer and fall. Following spring and summer is when we're going to actually build the labs. This is the best part. So we're going to create organizational foundations such as curriculum pacing guides and lab procedures, just setting our students and our educators up for success, giving them a plan, giving them some idea of what we want to happen. We're going to place and organize materials into the labs as they come in. And finally, we're going to train our staff on the usage of labs. We don't want to just build something and say, all right, have fun, guys. We want teachers to feel comfortable bringing their students in. We want the kids to be comfortable because these kind of things, the equipment, the supplies, if not used correctly, can be dangerous. So everyone needs to know the proper usage and be comfortable so that we can get the most out of these labs. So if you have any questions or have feedback, have some ideas, we would love for you guys to bring it to the table. This is a great opportunity for our students. I really think it's going to help with our 21st century learning and really bring a focus into STEM education for Bristol, Virginia Public Schools.
I mean,
Do you have any names of schools that have up and running STEM curricula at this point?
We went to Radford, which was
McCaig Elementary.
and they had a really amazing room, beautiful. I think we can do better. I think we have the opportunity to do better. It gave us kind of a starting point, gave us some ideas, but I really think we can knock it out of the park from what we've seen.
So we just know of one, Radford?
That's the first one we've gone to.
Yeah, at the elementary level. Then I'm not saying there's not any others out there, but and they actually have a STEM lab, and another school they have a maker. It's more of a maker space lab, I think. But what we've not been able to find is actually a science lab. So we're going to have a STEM lab, and then the other lab is going to be completely devoted to just science. And let me just say one other thing too. Ms. Harper, as she was starting the planning process on this, noticed that one thing, a very important thing, had been left out of the design of the new school. And if you're going to have a science lab, you also need to have some water. And there was no water in the. We had called them enrichment labs, so it wasn't the architect's fault. It was just an oversight on our part. But thankfully, she called it in time. One of those enrichment labs actually backs up to a restroom, so we're going to very easily be able to get the water there. But that's why that we don't just have one person or two or three people making the decisions about how this thing rolls out. And we've got a lot of folks involved because, I mean, that was a huge catch on her behalf that will make that without the water, we would have been struggling with that for years. So great job on that. And anyway, Carmen she's passionate about it, as you can tell. And so I think we've got the right person.
Well, doesn't Virginia Tech have something that we can look at right now?
We're going later this month, I think the 15th, right? To go tour their facilities too.
But do they have templates and models for what they ought to look like?
I'm hoping they will share.
Okay.
One of the things that, we have a microscope or two across the division in our elementary schools, but we're going to have a classroom set of microscopes in the science lab. Any pertinent science experiment or lab that can be done that's connected to second, third, fourth, or fifth grade SOLs, we're going to have the equipment and supplies our teachers need to actually do the science and not just the book work that goes along with it.
so like you said, you're going to train teachers to not just throw them in there. So is someone going to be over the lab?
That's what we're hoping. We're hoping to actually have a designated STEM teacher.
Okay.
And make that one of the, special classes, so in the rotation of specials. Right. And that person would not only teach that class, but also kind of, manage the science lab as well.
I didn't know if one person was doing that or if all the teachers would be available to come in and, and teach in there.
We currently have an elementary emerging technology specialist, and we have that as part of our ESSER funding.
Okay.
keep in mind, as you're starting to think about the goals we're going to set for next year, we're going to run out of that ESSER funding, and so that is probably something I would recommend to the board to consider as a goal, is setting aside the funding to make sure we keep that position, even though the ESSER funding is not going to be there.
I really feel like to make this the most successful learning labs we can, we do need someone to help kind of oversee it.
Right. Okay. Any other questions, comments?
Thank you. Thank you.
These are both at elementary level, both of
Yes,
these?
sir.
Yeah, and so as Carmen said, Ms. Harper said, it is at one of the main entrances, right across from the main office. And to put it in perspective, our classroom sizes are 800 square feet, and as you'll remember, these are 1,020. So, about 20% larger than our normal classroom spaces. So it really will open up opportunities for collaboration and for students to do the hands-on learning that we know makes science practical.
Okay.
We have an opportunity to be leaders in the state for STEM education, and hopefully we're going to do it right. We're going to get the right stakeholders involved, and we're going to design and implement the best learning labs that anyone's seen. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
You got water in the new room now. Did you put a drain in there too?
Yeah, eye wash station, all those important things that goes as part of it. But we named them enrichment labs, so, anyway, we fixed it. We're not perfect, but we try hard.
All right, moving along, item 2E, discussion of Bearcat Bridge.
Hello, my name is Adriana Cox. I am the new Workforce Engagement Coordinator. I'm going to update you guys on Bearcat Bridge and what I've been doing this year through the program. This one? Okay. All right, so this is the new logo that I had created for Bearcat Bridge, just to give us something to show off to different partners that we've been talking to. This is the layout of Bearcat Bridge. The first piece that we have is our Career Cafe. This is something that takes place at the middle school and the high school. The career fair, we do a career fair for the elementary level, 4th grade and 5th grade, and then we'll have one at the high school as well. Bearcat Bridge Advisory, this is something that takes place once a month. Students are with the same mentor teacher all 4 years. For 30 minutes a month, they're going in and learning different lessons. Senior mentorship, this is something that kind of goes along with our career launch program. The Chamber Seal of Excellence, this is something that was created in connection with the Chamber of Commerce. This is a special seal that students can receive on their diplomas. And then Career Launch is the big piece of this program, and this is where I put students, seniors, into job placements their second semester if they have completed the majority of their graduation requirements. Okay. So for Career Cafe, so far we have had 45 guest speakers between Virginia Middle and Virginia High School. Some of those include Amazon, the FBI, Ballad, ETSU, Food City, WCYB, military, and many more in between. Bearcat Bridge Advisory, so far we've had 5 of those. For the freshmen, I really did the first few months kind of an intro to high school for freshmen. I've been teaching them about GPAs. I did a resource map of the high school and where they can find different resources within, types of diplomas they can receive, and different types of seals that they can get. For the upperclassmen, we have done how to use Microsoft OneDrive, how to create folders for different classes, and how to organize their OneDrive. Another one has been writing a professional email, which seems pretty easy, but it's not. And so just email etiquette, how to create signatures on their emails. We have done career exploration through Major Clarity, which is a platform that we use through United Way of Southwest Virginia. And through there, they have taken personality assessments and learning style assessments that give them an idea of what types of careers would be good for them based on these assessments. And another one that we have done is practicing communication skills for the workforce. Okay. The career fair, we had that back in the fall for 4th and 5th graders. We had 9 different tables, and the students would rotate and spend about 10 minutes at each table, kind of getting to know what they do and how they got to these different career fields. On Tuesday, March 28th, we will have our annual career fair for the high school. And the Chamber Seal of Excellence for the 22-23 school year, we are hoping to get 60% of the graduating class to earn this seal, and currently we're at 24%. Career Launch, this is the program where seniors go into job placements their second semester. We were hoping to have 8 students, and currently we have 15 students that are in the program. And these are the partners that I've worked with to place our students. We have different ones. We have healthcare, factories, construction, childcare. We have someone at a funeral home, a law office, different places that they've been taking these students in. And on Thursday, May 4th, I am going to be doing a signing day for students that are in the Career Launch program. And this is kind of similar to our signing days for our athletes going to college. I really wanted to do something for our students who are going to go into the workforce. And so on May 4th, we're going to have those partners and those students that are in Career Launch come in and kind of have a signing day for them, since they're going to be continuing their work after graduation.
Do you know what time it's going to be?
Do what?
Do you know what time it's going to be?
11.
11, thank you.
Yes. That is all. If you have any questions, please feel free.
So this is a 4-year program, basically?
Sorry?
A 4-year program?
Yes, this is for all students at the high school. The Career Launch is just for seniors, their second half of the semester.
Okay.
What do they have to do to earn the chamber seal?
There's a set of standards. They have to get 20 points on this set of standards, and some of these are attendance. So if they have, I believe it's 9 days or less or 5 days or less, they get so many points. There's an attendance standard, a tardy standard, a discipline standard, and it's basically things that employers are looking for, because we know that they want them to be there every day, they want them to be on time, and so if we have students that can meet these standards, it shows that we have employees for them.
Those standards were developed in conjunction. Mr. Ritchie and I think Dr. Huffman at the time met with Beth Reinhardt of the Chamber. And so now members of the Chamber of Commerce understand that if a student comes with that Chamber of Commerce seal on their graduation, they know that they've met these requirements before they ever came into the workforce. I'll also just say a couple of things. Bearcat Bridge is the program that earned us the Virginia Board of Education Seal of Innovation. We're one of 6 school divisions in the Commonwealth that have earned that. Bearcat Bridge is the program that we earned that with. So I know, great job for everybody who made that happen. You may have read in Mr. McGee's article that one of our students, actually I think 2 of our students are working for J.A. Street and actually having experience helping build the new elementary school, and so that's a really cool thing. But one of your student board reps also is part of that, and he has recently been employed by Electromechanical. Keywan is part of that Bearcat Bridge program as well.
And I just want to say thank you for your organizing this,
Yes,
but also for that signing day. You know, I always felt like, you know, our athletes, you know, are put up here
Yes.
for what they're doing for the rest of their lives, and our other students are kind of forgotten sometimes. And folks our kids that have worked hard through school and are going straight to the workforce, they should be recognized as well, and I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. It's been exciting to create this program and meeting these partners and talk about Virginia High and Bearcat Bridge. It's been good, and I've enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I sit in on the technology side of that?
Yes, sir. As Mr. Duncan, and you're introducing the next one, I'm going to tell you, I know we're heavy on presentations and discussions tonight, but Mr. Duncan has been so nervous about presenting in front of y'all that he keeps calling in sick. So we were actually, I'm just kidding. As you know, Mr. Dr. Duncan, he is the least bashful guy you'll probably meet. But anyway, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
It's good to see you, Dr. Parrish, and Chairman Allison, members of the board, and it's especially great to see our young people from Virginia High being active and be able to come and participate in this process and be able to report back to the board on what you're finding throughout the division. So I commend all of you, and it's good to see, as well as everybody that's come tonight. Here to talk to you a little bit about a new initiative called the PASS program. And what the PASS program stands for is Positive Alternative to Student Suspensions. And really, there is a sequential procedure in school discipline. You'll find that in our school handbook. And it starts off with, teacher redirections, and then maybe a student-teacher conference, and then it'll go maybe a student-teacher-parent conference. It just goes right down the line. And one of the last things that we want to do is to suspend a student out of school. And so, anyway, that becomes problematic in so many ways. And as Dr. Perichin mentioned earlier, if a student is not in school, they're not receiving the services that we can provide. They're not receiving, most importantly, their academic instruction during the day, as well as, they're not being able to eat. They're not being able to obtain some of the support programs that we have. So it's never a good thing if a student's not in the building. For offenses that are not violent in nature, whether it be fighting or an assault, or involve some particularly illegal activity, like an illegal narcotic possession or use, we found that this program hopefully will curtail some of the out-of-school suspensions that we have by using the personnel that we have in our buildings to further foster mentoring with our students. And that's the biggest thing that we want to have. We know that a good school culture and environment begins and ends with relationships. And it's critical. It's critical to a positive school, a successful school. And as I think that our Student Advisory Council will attest, that I'm a big believer in student relationships and how we can change our school and student success and their behavior, all for the better, through our interactions with one another. So instead, give you an example. Let's say that a student has left school without permission, and something that I get particularly disappointed in, I'll just say that. And so they've left school without permission. It poses a safety risk. We don't know where a student is. It's worrisome to the parents, and it's a major concern. Instead of sending a student home for a day or two before leaving school, then we'll have that student participate in an enhanced version of our in-school suspension program, in which that student will receive mentoring off a checklist that I will designate, or a member of our administrative team. Some of those checklists will involve seeing Officer Barlow, our school resource officer, receiving mentorship from Adriana Cox, or Brooke Harris, our behavior interventionist, or receiving intervention and mentorship by one of our other administrators. For example, if I'm the particular administrator that is dealing with a particular discipline circumstance, then I'll have Mr. Harper or Mr. Collins would be another administrator that would take an opportunity to meet with that student or that student's parent for further mentoring opportunities. We'd also use our Highlands Community Services that we have, luckily, that we're fortunately have at Virginia High, as well as our site coordinator with communities and schools. So as you can see, we have a lot of wraparound services that we hope through mentorship can encourage positive behavior and can curtail and hopefully prevent students from making bad decisions.
The only thing that I will add that Mr. Duncan left out is there's also a potential as one of those options, a community service option, that students may choose that rather than one of the mentoring sessions you're talking about, which, that could mean helping out with one of the custodians. But it could also have other community service options as well. So it's not just about punishing the behavior, it's about counseling those students to help them make better choices in the future, but also bringing attention to the fact that, you're a member of this community here, and sometimes that involves providing service to that community.
Is there any questions?
Love the idea of taking a discipline more than a punishment approach and really working on that relationship building. And I think that's something that you all already do at Virginia High, and I appreciate a lot, and I'm glad we're continuing this.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Duncan. All right, item 2G, discussion of Cognia accreditation.
I'm gonna let Mr. Ritchie get us started here.
Good evening, members of the board. So we are in a place of, I am not sure, it's probably been 7 years ago that we were accredited, and at the time, it was called Southern Association of Colleges and Schools, and it has now gone through a couple of name changes, and now that accreditation organization is called Cognia. And I guess with the reorganization that they have gone through, and maybe with the pandemic as well, they have put off going through the accreditation process. And I wanted to bring to you, to have a discussion. We have realized that many of our neighboring school divisions have left that process with the Virginia Department of Education accrediting schools. And in fact, I had a conversation with, I'm a part of a group called the Key Instructional Leaders, and had a conversation with them, and they could not think of, none of the leaders who were in that meeting could think of, they were not a part of anything like that at this point. And Matt Hurd, who is a part of that group, who works with many, many divisions, he could not think of a single school division that was a part of that process. So, it's going to be something that if we're going to proceed with that, there is some cost, but we need to be jumping into that with great gusto here in the next couple of months, or we do not. So we wanted to bring that up for a piece of discussion.
And I will add to that, before all schools went through SACS accreditation. That's the accreditation that was needed for transcripts to be accepted. And, however, once the federal government started getting into the accreditation business, and then especially after the VDOE got into providing accreditation for schools, a lot of school divisions have went away from that. There are no other schools in Region 7, unless somebody has changed their mind, that are currently doing that accreditation. And my understanding, maybe one of the reasons that we were one of the last holdouts is because we, up to about 6 years ago, 5 years ago, 4 years ago even, some of our schools did not earn state accreditation. But this year, as you'll know, for the first time in over a decade, all of our schools are accredited. And so I think that was probably a fallback. We may not have had full accreditation from the state, but we still had our SACS, or our, I forget what the next one was, but now Cognia accreditation. And so that it is a very laborious process to go through. If you've ever been through one of those reviews, there's a lot of work on behalf of the staff, and there are some costs involved. And so if the board would like for us to continue to move forward with that, we can get that process started. But I think what I'm hearing Mr. Ritchie say, and I think definitely what I'm saying is, I believe it's time for us to consider moving away from that accreditation standard and using our the state accreditation as the banner that we're searching for.
I can think of a lot of other things to do with the money, so that's fine with me if it's fine with everybody else.
Yeah, I just remember the time and effort that it took from everyone when we did this last time. I mean, it was daunting, to say the least, of what was required. And, I think if, I guess at the time, that was the tail end of them being the main accreditation, for all school systems. But, I guess the federal government's taken their their sting away a little bit, I guess, their power. So, you know, as long as we're good, there's no advantage to have them. I don't see going through the effort and spending the money.
I had to look up the word. I've never heard it before. So we're revamping the program?
Well, SACS, you probably remember SACS. SACS for decades was the accrediting body, the regionally accrediting body. SACS changed. Gary, what was the one before Cognia? Advanced Ed. Yeah. So it changed from SACS to Advanced Ed, and now it's changed. Advanced Ed has been its new name. It's is Cognia, but it's another. Anyway, it's just another iteration that goes all the way back to SACS. Again, we have full accreditation from the state, and I think that is what we aim for. We have the plan that we would have to develop an entirely new plan, a very lengthy plan. We have a very robust, comprehensive plan that we will be beginning reviewing over this next year anyway. And so, in my opinion, when I first got here, we aligned our comprehensive plan to our advanced ed plan, and then aligned all of our goals and everything that we're doing to those plans, so we weren't working in different directions. But Cognia now has changed their standards to where they don't align with the things that we have to align for our comprehensive plan. So it's not an easy shift now too. So we would have to go back to having, okay, are we meeting our goals towards our Cognia plan? Are we meeting our goals to our comprehensive plan? Are we meeting our goals to our school improvement plan? Are we meeting our goals to our teacher evaluation instrument? It really kind of muddies the water, and so
maybe a new state superintendent can figure that out.
maybe.
So, Mr. Ritchie, I believe we're going to let that pass. All right. Item number 3 is public comment. I only have one card, but if anybody else would like to speak, I'll let you go now. All right, so we have Tina McDaniel. She's from the Bristol Community Remembrance Coalition. And Ms. McDaniel?
Okay, thank you. Chairman Alvis and Vice Chair Hubbard and Superintendent and members of the Bristol, Virginia School Board. My name is Tina McDaniel, and I'm with the Appalachian Promise Alliance. We were formerly called Bristol's Promise, and my executive director, Melissa Roberts, is here with me this evening. Along with Preston Mitchell, who's also here, Preston and I are co-leaders for the Bristol Community Remembrance Project. This coalition was newly formed, and it consists of 15 individuals representing nonprofits, faith, community, education, government, and concerned community members. The coalition was formed to partner with the Equal Justice Initiative, EJI, in Montgomery, Alabama, to create awareness and understanding about racial terror lynchings in the American South. EJI researched some 4,400 documented lynchings of African American men, women, and children that occurred during the time frame 1877 to 1950 in the American South. EJI also expanded that research to look at 1865, and they discovered approximately 2,000 more documented lynchings that occurred during Reconstruction. So this project is an important beginning to our community's conversation around historical racial injustices. Science tells us that trauma can have negative impacts on individuals, organizations, and communities. Many of you have probably attended Adverse Childhood Experiences, ACEs training, and you know that ACEs can have negative health impacts across a lifetime. What we also know is that historical and cultural traumas are among the identified ACEs, and they too can also have negative impacts across multiple generations. This is not just an opinion. It comes from neuroscience, molecular biology, genetics, and behavioral and social science. In 2019, Virginia House Joint Resolution number 655 was passed unanimously. The resolution acknowledges the terror of lynchings in the Commonwealth of Virginia and encourages localities to partner with EJI to take the necessary steps to commemorate and recognize this traumatic time in history. This resolution augments what is stated in the Virginia Standards of Learning for U.S. and Virginia History, grade 11, found on page 58, Standard 10, Section F, states, analyzing the effects of prejudice, discrimination, and Jim Crow laws, including but not limited to the response of Booker T. Washington, W.E.B. Du Bois, and Ida Wells Barnett's anti-lynching crusade. The Bristol Community Remembrance Project Coalition is prepared to begin this process by working with EJI and the Bristol community to memorialize Mr. Robert Clark, who was lynched here in Bristol, Virginia in June 1891, and bring education and awareness to this traumatic era of racial terror. Soil will be collected at the lynching site to be displayed at EJI's Legacy Museum in Montgomery, Alabama, and a historical marker describing this incident will be provided to the community by EJI and will be erected in the space where the violence took place. And of course, we would be working with the city of Bristol, Virginia on that. As leaders of this initiative, we request the support of the Bristol, Virginia School Board in the form of a resolution that will be submitted to the Equal Justice Initiative, demonstrating the Bristol, Virginia School Board's commitment to acknowledge Virginia House Joint Resolution number 655 and take steps to recognize this traumatic time in Bristol's history and the history of America. So we appreciate your consideration of this request. Respectfully submitted, the Bristol Community Remembrance Project Coalition. I'm Tina McDaniel, co-leader, along with Preston Mitchell.
Thank you, Ms. McDaniel. Any questions for her?
Ms. McDaniel, the site of the lynching in Bristol, has that been pinpointed or?
So we have several sources and articles around the lynching, and it speaks to a specific area called Lindsay Grove. Now, we haven't identified that specific spot, but we do have a general location of where that might be.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I talked to Ms. McDaniel ahead of this and told her that we would love to have, we didn't get this in time to add it to the agenda, but it's certainly an agenda item that we could add for the April meeting for discussion for her request for a proposal to, for a resolution. And so if there, I mean, obviously if there's other questions, we can do that now, but I did inform her that we could get on the April agenda if that was the board's intention.
I think so. Yeah, I think that would be.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 4, the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Ms. Jones?
Yes.
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 Yes. All right, item 5A, approval of 2022-2023 Board Adopted Budget Revision Number 5.
And Ms. Jones is getting it pulled up there. I am going to defer to her, obviously.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the revision to the budget.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion, any questions? Hearing none, Ms. Jones?
Yes.
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 Yes. All right, item 5B, approval of the 2023-2024 school board budget.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, obviously this is the presentation for our 23-24 budget. Inside of board docs, you have several supporting documents, including the line item budget of that. Rather than going through that, I will give you the highlights. I know you've had an opportunity as we've went through the budget planning season to ask a lot of questions as we've gone through this, but I will give you a brief presentation and answer any questions that you may have at the end. As you know, we always try to go back to what our vision is, which is to prepare all students to thrive in this dynamically changing world. And we do that by connecting our budget priorities to our school board goals. I think that is the most important meeting that we have in the course of the year because it guides the work that we do each and every day after that. We've been over these budget priorities already, but however, I just want to give you a quick reminder of those. We've still got some renovations to do at the existing Van Pelt School to prepare for the consolidation in a year and a half. We also want to make sure that we continue to include our emerging technology specialists in the budget, which they are part of this budget. We also want to make sure our students have all the educational resources they need to be successful. We want to expand our gifted program. As we have already talked about a couple different times tonight, we also have to, we know that we've got work to do in the area of chronic absenteeism, and so we want to work on that. One of the main budget goals that we had at the beginning of this budget session was to make sure that we continued the mental health supports that we're able to provide because of the ESSER funding. And then, again, the goal that you have given me every year that I've been your superintendent is to make sure that we have a compensation and insurance and the entire benefit package that makes Bristol, Virginia Public Schools as competitive as we can be, not only in Southwest Virginia, but with our neighbors in Northeast Tennessee. And so I'm going to start talking about where we go because required local effort is going to have such a big impact on this budget. You know, we have had some increases from the city over the last couple of years because required local effort from the state has increased. You know, because of, I've shared with you guys last year in this budget session and also with City Council that even though we had a significant increase in required local effort last year, we anticipated another one this year, and we anticipate that to potentially go up again in the future because we think our local composite index will change because of changes to our city. And for once in my life, my prediction was right, and we did have a very significant increase as the governor's budget was released of required local effort in the amount of $500,000. That, according to the governor's budget, that local amount will go up to $7.4 million. What we didn't know the last time we talked is what the House and Senate budgets would call for. The House budget is actually just a little bit less than that. It's about $75,000 less, $7.3 million. However, if the Senate budget is approved, there will be another $330,000 tacked on to required local effort on the city's behalf. So I would anticipate that we'll go somewhere in between where the governor started and where the Senate ended up. But as you can see, the significant increase in required local effort was not just you know, propaganda on my part. It has really come to pass, and I anticipate that will continue into the future. So to give you a quick budget summary, these are our carry-overable funds that we talk about every year. This is not part of our general fund. These are most funds that we get as a school system we have to spend by June 30th. These are a few areas where we can carry over that money. Although this is not, we don't have an exact spending plan. Well, we do in the school construction fund. But in these other areas, the school nutrition, the textbook fund, we make those spending decisions as we need to make them. However, we do have to appropriate those amounts, even though they are carry-overable every year. So this is our other funds, not included in our general fund. However, in our general fund, we continue to use the governor's release budget. It's very close to the House budget. It's significantly less than the Senate budget, but rather than starting to make a lot of changes that we don't know, we're going to continue to plan based on the governor's budget, and we anticipate that once the conference budget is approved, that there will be an increase to that, and we'll make all those changes at one time rather than muddying the water throughout the process. We have included the 5%. We use the midpoint of the scale for teacher and administrator bonuses. That is what the governor's budget called for. As you probably know, the House and the Senate budget also called for an additional 2%. We're waiting to see how, we're ready to make that addition to the budget as well, but we're waiting to see how the final budget comes out to make sure that the required all those things match up so that we can get to that point as well. If you'll remember, we're transitioning our support pay schedules to a step system, and there's about a $200,000 increase to do that on a one-time basis, but it will help us as we're hiring and be more competitive in those areas of our recruiting as well. We're going to cover the health insurance increase for those employees who take the employee only with the $1,000 deductible plan. We have got our numbers in. We were using 15% increase as an estimate. When we got our final numbers in, it was a 10% increase, which, we had a little bit of money that we could help in some other areas of the budget too. But we are covering that, so if an employee chooses the $1,000 deductible, they have no employee contribution to do that if they're on the employee-only plan. I will say that the rest of our plans are very favorable for employees as well, but again, that's only because that's the direction that you give me each year as we go into the budget process. And we are also we're continuing to fund all of our behavioral specialists for one more year. Like I try to give us a little heads up before we get there, that's going to become more difficult in going into the next budget cycle, but we'll deal with that animal once we get to that point. But even with the governor's budget, we can make the behavioral specialist positions that we have in ESSER continue to be part of what we do each and every day. So to give you an overview of what those numbers are, there is an increase in the state revenue that we have of almost $1 million in the general account that's not restricted. In the restricted, you'll see that there's a $1.9 million decrease. Keep in mind, last year we got $1.5 million for school construction projects. That was one-time money only. And so even it looks like it's a big decrease there. It's only there because we got one-time money. I'll also remind you that our agreement with City Council is the first 3 years that new school goes online, that money is carryoverable. We will take about $500,000 each of those first 3 years and allow the city to make the payment to the IDA for the new school. So that will help that is another way that we're trying to work with the city as we go through these difficult times. It also looks like we've got a significant decrease in federal revenue, and I guess we do, but that's because we spent the lion's share of our ESSER 2 and 3 funds during the current budget cycle and don't have as much of those ESSER funds to spend in the next budget cycle. Local revenue, you'll remember that we have asked for an increase of just shy of $1 million at $999,000, which we've talked about that a little already, and we'll hit that again at the end. And then a decrease in the other revenue, which are the slides that we talked about earlier. So overall, we're looking at a general fund budget of $41 million, which is $6 million less than the budget that we had last year. Although, keep in mind, that is because of ESSER funding, spending, and also because of the $1.5 million in school construction money we received from the state last year. This breaks it down into the different categories of instruction, transportation, technology, debt service, and so forth. As you can see, those decreases are going to happen in the areas of facilities because that's where the school construction funding was, but also in instruction because that's where a lot of the ESSER funded positions were as well. So again, that's just the breakdown of the different areas inside of the general fund budget. So we do have a balanced budget, which we don't always have at this time of year. Our revenues will equal our expenditures. We'll make the needed adjustments once we get the conference budget approved, which we hope is sooner rather than later. But if you'll remember last year, we were creeping really close to July before we ever got that approved. But we're hopeful that compromise will prevail in the great city of Richmond, Virginia, as we move throughout the spring. Keep in mind, there were some requests that we weren't able to meet with the current budget. Once we get the conference budget, we'll relook at these to see if they potentially can fit back in. And that was the request for an additional special education teacher, an increase in purchase services in our maintenance department, some software needs that we have, some medical supplies our nurses have asked for, and then continuing some positions that are currently funded with federal dollars, because we see the end coming near where those grants can't be, but we'll continue to look for ways to fund those through local and state dollars. And of course, applying for additional grants as well. Just to give you a quick update of the capital needs that are included in this budget, we will be renovating the library at Van Pelt to add 2 additional classroom spaces, which will prepare us to have enough classroom spaces when the primary school comes online the following year. Although, first of all, that library is a really large space, and if you're just looking at pre-K, kindergarten, and first grade students, the number of books that you need is not nearly as much as if you're serving a K-5 school. So we have the room, and we also need the room to make sure that we have enough space for our primary students. We're going to finish the pool entrance at Virginia High and the door replacements at Virginia High, flooring upgrades that we're doing at Virginia Middle School. We've got some buses that we're still working on replacing our bus fleet, and then we've got some painting in interior and exterior parts of the building that are part of this budget as well. There's other things, but these are kind of the highlights that we'll be working on from a capital standpoint. And so, conclusion, just to draw attention, I've worried all spring about asking the city for an additional $1 million. I'll remind you that we made that request in conjunction and collaboration with city staff. They understand that the need is there and have worked really well with us to get to a number that makes sense both for the school division and for the city. But just to put it in perspective, back as early as 2019, pre-pandemic, the city was at the point where they were given almost $1.8 million above required local effort. But as the state has increased the amount that the city has to pay for public education, the city has got further and further away from that lofty goal. And this past year, we were less than $500,000 away from required local effort based on that appropriation. And as I suggested last year, the required local effort is going to go. It's going to go up by at least $500,000 this year, and we anticipate that going up again in the next biennium as well. And rather than the city trying to bite all that off at one time, I think the idea is let's go ahead and add $999,000 this year, so that if there is another increase, we're not putting that burden on taxpayers again in the future. So I know it sounds like I'm tone deaf by asking for an additional $1 million in the condition that our city is now with dealing with issues with the landfill and other issues. However, I just wanted to put that in perspective. Even with that request, we're still going to be receiving less in required local effort as it compares to what the minimum is than we were back in 2019. We have a great relationship with City Council, and I appreciate the board's attempt to make sure that we do have that good relationship, and we work very well with the city manager, and we will do whatever it takes to make sure that our city is able to do all the things that it needs to do, especially during these trying times. And with that, it is National Art Month, and we wanted to showcase at least one piece of art that one of our third graders have did there. So we've got a lot of good things going on in our school. But just as a reminder of the things that really matter whenever you approve these budgets is what happens in our classrooms, and this is just one example of it. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Do we have a motion? Let's do a motion
To approve the budget.
to approve the budget.
I move we approve the budget.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Now, questions, discussion?
It's a moving target.
It always is. It always is.
Significantly moving this year because typically the House and the Senate budget aren't too far off, but for us it's about $2 million difference when, which is about, if you look at our total budget, it's about a 5% overall difference between the House and the Senate budget. So we always have this uncertainty, but the amount of uncertainty that we have because of the difference between the two budgets is really significant.
Any other questions or discussion? Comments?
So just roll the dice.
Yep. Ms. Jones, you call the roll?
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, item 5C, approval of granting superintendent permission to hire new employees between March 8th, 2023 and April 17th, 2023 in consultation with the school board. Do we have a motion?
I make that motion.
Second.
Discussion or comment?
Just as long as you hire all the right people.
Well, I will say it's recruiting season right now. We have already started the interview process, and we really, the salary scale and the benefit package that this board has put together already has helped us to attract the best and the brightest throughout our entire region. Once this budget is approved, I only anticipate that to get better and easier. However, we don't want to let something get slipped through the crack because another board is meeting before we do. And so, obviously, just like always, I will do this in consultation with the entire board before we make the final offer. Granting this really gives us the flexibility we need to get the best staff hired.
Okay. Ms. Jones?
Yes.
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 Yes. All right. With that, we go to closed session, item number 6. You want to read us into closed session?
Pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A1 of the Code of Virginia, I move that the board convene a closed meeting for the purpose of discussing the following matters: discussion of certain personnel, recommendation for employment, and resignations.
Second.
There's a B item too.
Oh, it's not on my paper. And for the approval of requests for release from compulsory school attendance due to religious convictions.
Mr. Cooper made the motion. Do we have a second? Or each second the motion? Yeah. Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Thank you all for coming out tonight. I appreciate you. Appreciate our transportation department showing up tonight.
Show me how I get in
The Bristol, Virginia School Board certifies that, to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting, and only such public matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were considered.
Second.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve attachment A?
I move we approve attachment A.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes. Any new or old business?
Oh, we have attachment B.
Oh, is there attachment B? Oh, yeah. Do I have a motion to approve attachment B?
I move we approve attachment B.
Second.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Now then, any new or old business? Hey, what about the traveling to Withville?
Oh,
Was that, is that the 15th?
Next Wednesday.
That is, I know I maybe talked to somebody about traveling with me. However, what Carmen was talking about after we leave Withville, that's when we're going to go to Virginia Tech
Okay.
to visit their STEM lab. So if somebody wanted to make a full day of it and go do that as well, they could travel with me. Otherwise, because we're going to leave there at 1, drive another, whatever, an hour to Tech, visit there, and then have another 2-hour drive back. So you're welcome to, but I just didn't want to put that on.
See, it starts at 9. Do we want to get a car and everybody ride together?
What date is this?
Next
A
Wednesday.
week from Wednesday. I'll get a car.
We're going to be on a panel discussion about our virtual reality lab, me, Jeff, and Logan. And then Logan's going to have a simulator set up for other school board members to use. And I think the other folks on the lab are the folks from Cumberland who are trying to replicate what we did. That's my understanding.
I got a couple customers up there. I'm gonna try to
You
make
gonna be
it a
on up
work
there?
day.
Okay. All right.
What time you leaving?
Probably about, starts at 9. Is that, I think it starts at 9, so probably leave about 7:30.
To get up to Withville.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll just get a car and I'll send something out next week and, see who wants to ride. All right.
To give y'all an update on Thursday, I'm supposed
Oh.
to maybe be on CNN.
Oh, I got an email
Yeah.
about that at work today. You're going to be on it. Oh.
What did it say that means?
Well, it said it was like Virginia parents, educators, superintendents with this town hall with Glenn Youngkin and submit a question, and I did not submit one.
Well, I mean, so I'm allegedly going to be part of the governor gets to, anyway, that's the last I've heard. When I accepted to do it, I've not heard another word, and I can't get anybody to return a call, so I may or may not be there on Thursday night.
Okay.
So, but I will tell you, that is kind of, are we still on? I may or may not be there Thursday night.
All right. Anything else? All right, meeting adjourned.